In this video clip you're going to learn how to make a graph in Google Sheets for your data, and then you're going to also learn how to paste it into the space where there is a spot for it, and how to link it so that it appears in the correct document. So we made this table in the last video clip for our results. If we quickly make up some results for the trials, so for example 5 centimeters may have taken 2 minutes, and then it may have taken 2.5, and it may have, going across, that's what it should be, 2.5, and then it might have made 2.3 minutes. For 10, it might have taken 3 minutes, 3 minutes, and then perhaps 3.5 minutes. 15 centimeters high might have taken 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes, and 5.1 minutes. And then for 20 centimeters high, it perhaps took 6 minutes, 6.2 minutes, and 6.1 minutes. Okay, right, so here is our data. What we can do is copy and paste this table over into a Google Sheet. It won't look exactly the same, but it'll be not too bad. If you double click in these gaps, then usually it lets you adjust it. And what we're going to be concerned about first of all is averaging. So you can average in Google Sheets, or you can do it on a calculator if you want to. What you do on Google Sheets is you type in, hopefully, type in equals average. If you don't know how to spell it, the word pops up for you. And then you select the value range. It's important you put a bracket first, an open bracket. Select the value range you want, and then close the bracket. And that will give you a result. Same thing for the next one. Average. And we select the range, close the bracket, and press enter. Now, what we could also do is click in a box, drag down on that little square in the bottom corner, and that will actually calculate the average for the other ones. To check it's done it right, you click into one of those boxes, and then you look up here, and it should say what it's done, and it's correct. So that's what we want. Now we're going to go through and change these, because these are going to be hard to graph. So we want to make them to the nearest whole number if possible, or to 1 decimal point. So that one will become 2.3. This one will become 3.2. This one will become 4.9. That one can stay as it is 6.1. Okay, the only two columns that we're interested in graphing is this column here and this column here. So our independent variable, this column, and our dependent variable average, this column. Now you can't graph the values as is, you have to convert them, unfortunately. So what's easier to do usually is to copy the title for that column, and then copy the title for that column, and stick them one above the other. Now we can then collect the values. So 5, 10, 15, and 20. It's important that you don't put words into here. So don't put the units into these boxes, because then it's not going to work very well. You can have them in these ones because of the titles, but you can't have them in the ones with the values. The height, 5 centimeters, had an average time of 2.3. 10 was 3.2. The next one was 4.9. And then finally 6.1. So we check that that data is all correct, and then we highlight all those boxes. You can then either click on this icon here, Insert Chart, or you can click on Insert and then Chart. It's going to take that data and put it into a graph for you. Now that graph might be a bar graph, it might automatically pop up with that, or it might pop up with a different kind. Usually we'll use a line graph in science. The bar graph does show the pattern that we want, but we're going to use a line graph. So if you go to Chart Types and then click on Line, you should then also get that. Check that your axes labels are the correct way around. The independent variable should always be on this axis here, the horizontal one, And the dependent variable, which is the average time taken for the water to boil, should always be on the other axis, the vertical axis. It will generate a title for you, and we can change that later if we need to. And it also usually puts this key in here. We don't necessarily need that, but it's okay for now. Now you can see here that the scale of this graph is different to the scale on your graph. That's okay, because it still does show us what we want, but it is better if it does have the exact numbers. We'll see if we can change that. Let's see what happens. Sometimes you can play around with these numbers. There we go, that's what we want. So, if you click aggregate row 12, then it's going to give you your actual results on here. So, heights of 5, 10, 15, 20. You might not need to do that, that might already be done on yours, but if it's not, click on this button here, and it will do that for you. Click on customization, and we can change the title. So, the title on, we can't see it, the title on our table was time taken for water to boil at different heights above a methanol fuel burner. So if we copy that title over, and this is why it's easier if we have it in the table already, we can put it into here. Now our graph shows the average time taken for the water to boil, not just the times taken, because we were only graphing the averages, so we do have to insert that word, but other than that, the title is correct. So we can just edit it like that. And we're happy with the other axis labels, so we leave it as is, click insert, and here is our graph. Check that it's got all the bits we need. So it's got the title, and it explains the independent and dependent variables. It's got the axes labels, independent and dependent on the correct sides. It's got values, even scale, and it's got the trend line. So that looks pretty good to me. If you then copy it by going Control C or by going File, Edit, Copy, you can then go back to your planning template, click where you want it to go, and go Control V or right click and go Paste, and you'll end up with a box that looks like this. It says Link Chart to Spreadsheet. You need to make sure that the link option is selected and go Paste. And there is your graph. You can then move it by going Wrap Text and moving it around. Sometimes that messes up the rest of it, so you just have to move it from there, or you can leave it as is. You can also make it bigger or smaller so that it is easy to read.